All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Old School Live. My name is Patrick Rooney, and you are here, and I am here. It is live. It's Saturday night. It's kind of like Saturday Night Live. I've got my red shirt on, which might signify something. We will see. And hello to everybody out there who's just getting in right now. I've got a mission tonight that I want to do that we'll see. And I'll certainly take your input as well. But there's some things I need to talk about tonight. We just had an election all over the country. I don't know if the elections were exactly at the right time, probably slightly different for different places. But in my county, we just had an election for the nominations, right? The primary elections. We're going to have the other elections, of course, the general elections in November. And I want to talk about those in a way. And I know I have a audience that is growing locally here, but, and I also have which is political for the most part. And then I have an audience, which is kind of spiritual that I brought along. And I think the two of these go together very much. And I want to get into that tonight. And I want to talk about the main, I titled this Secure Your Act for Freedom or Slavery. No, well, act for freedom or live in slavery. That's what it really comes down to. If you don't act for your freedom, you will actually live in slavery. And even more specifically tonight, I want to talk about how to secure your area that you're in, if possible. We all live in areas, and the news gets us focused always on the national scene and things like that. But it's much more important to secure the area that you're in. If you live in for instance, your county is very, very important. Your sheriff has control, is actually, I have heard, and it's probably true, the highest ranking person in your county is really your sheriff. That's the person that comes between you and others who are trying to take your right. That sheriff is supposed to protect the Constitution. Some sheriffs are better than others, but the sheriff is very, very important. Hello, Jubine. Hello, Sergeant Francis. He got there. Hello, Fabian. Fabian got in there. So good to see all you guys and everybody else who's in there. The county is really, really important, and also your state where you are. So you can affect your county. Now, you may be living in a state that is so far gone that electorally, I don't know. If there's, in places like California, it's so far gone as far as electorally. Is the corruption so deep in the electoral system that it's not even possible to get a conservative, Republican, or something like that in there? That very well may be. You could make that argument, and many people have made that argument, that is in fact what's true all over the country, because our voting machines are able to be, what's the word I want to use, grabbed, and our voting machines are attached, I think, everywhere across the country in one way or another to the internet, which is, my God, that is horrible. And many will try to deny that, but that seems to be obviously the case. While that is the case, we can't assume that any elections are completely secure. What I do want to say before I go any further, though, is, and I heard Fabian mention this in the comments, and other people have, they say, well, I don't even know if I want to vote or anything like that. That is a problem. There was a situation that happened. There's a guy named Lynn Wood. And Lynn Wood, a lot of conservative people to the right know who he is. I used to listen to some of his stuff. He had a lot of really great points. He was actually the lawyer for Kyle Rittenhouse, the original lawyer, and Kyle Rittenhouse fired him at some point. But Lynn Wood has said a lot of great things about patriotic things and about the election and all that stuff. But when it came time for this is after Trump, and what happened to Trump totally got railroaded. There was a Georgia election for Senate. And at that time, the Republicans still had the majority. They had the Senate majority. There was an election in Georgia, and Lynn Wood said, well, this is, going to be fixed, so don't even worry about it. Basically discouraged people from voting. Well, what do you think happened? A lot of people didn't vote, and therefore two Democrats got into power. One is named, and then they swung the whole balance over to the Democrats. So you kind of have to play on two tracks at the same time. You have to understand they are trying to take everything from us, and we are in major danger as far as what's happening with the online stuff in the elections. No doubt about it. On the other hand, you have to keep moving forward and doing what you can, as we've been doing it in our county. We worked very hard in this county, and we're still working hard to try to secure the elections as best we can. We're trying to work with the Secretary of Election, I believe it's called, of elections, to do that. And we seem to be making some headway there. It is a mistake, in my opinion, to simply throw rocks from the outside and say how bad everything is, and just, forget it. And we're not going to worry about it anymore. You've got to kind of play two things at the same time. You've got to work to get everything as fair as possible, and get the cheating and all that stuff out of there as best as we can. And at the same time, you need to push patriotic citizen people, especially for these local slots. And that's just what we did. I'm going to explain that to you guys in a minute. And hopefully I'm gonna have time. I'm doing the show a little bit differently tonight, in that I've got a lot of video to show you if I can get to it. I want to kind of tell the story with some videos here to show you guys things that are going on. But before I go into that, I will take a look at a few comments, because people are knocking comments out real quick now. So let me just see if I'm missing anything that I need to address right off the top before we jump into this thing. Yeah, Fabian said, I will always vote, but honestly, if the electronic voting systems are still hackable, we should not put much hope in it at this late stage. He means the stage of history that we're in right now, very potentially the end times and all that. Again, I am dealing with, I'm a spiritual person. I'm a political person. You can be both. And I think you should be both if you want to be effective. I think we may be, in those times. That does not mean I'm going to run away from the system and try to not to fix it. I'm going to do everything I can, the county that I live in, the state I live in, and even the country I live in, to secure them as best as I can. And you almost kind of have to just move forward, because if you listen too much to, too much negativity, not that the negativity, a lot of it isn't true, but you can make yourself where you can't even move or don't even want to move. Well, what the hell, we're either going into the end times, or the election is so out of whack. We have no power anymore. So why don't we just go, build our bomb shelters, right? No, I'm going to keep moving forward. And I think you want to be putting people in, if you can, who are decent people, especially in these times. Because if you don't, that means they're going to take, the evil people are going to be even quicker in a position to try to take your rights away. They're going to want to mask you up. They're going to want to hit you with shots. If you don't take them, they're going to find a little place for you somewhere, so that's going to be done by the people who are in charge. All right. So you definitely don't want that. All right. Let me move on. Thank you for that, Fabian. And let me see. Little hope for change. I get it. Fabian said hacked. All right. Hi, Mind Over Energy. Did not see you. I'm glad to see you now. Good to see you. I had some trouble getting on, but I'm glad that you got there. Okay, so anybody else here? I got a lot of comments. Sergeant Francis in there. I'm going to use Patrick to stay awake while I drive to Des Moines, Iowa. On the road. Love it, man. I love being able to keep people awake. I used to remember driving in the desert at night sometimes, and I was just going somewhere. I was going in between maybe LA and Southern Oregon, a place like that. I'd be driving. It's about a 12-hour drive. And some people eat seeds and things like that. They eat seeds to try to stay awake. Some people listen to radio. I used to listen to Art Bell sometimes. Art Bell was the late Art Bell. I'm sure he died a few years ago. He was the classic late night host. He just talked about UFOs and all sorts of really odd things. And he was so dramatic in the way he presented. It was perfect nighttime radio. So I'll try to kind of channel Art Bell a little bit here for you tonight, Sergeant Francis. All right, we got other comments, and I haven't even got into the stuff yet. So I'm going. Wow, some of these guys make a lot of comments at once. I'm just going to get into it here because otherwise, Art Bell, somewhere in time, Carl Kanigian. Cool. Let me get into some of this stuff here. Okay. Let me just say this at first. I'm going to tell you what we did locally. First of all, I was a poll worker, and many other people were too. We didn't have enough poll workers. That's one thing you do. Let me say what I think people need to be doing in their lives, especially as it relates to politics or just life in general. But this totally works for politics. Number one, prayer, being meditation. And some people use that as the same thing. Prayer, meditation, meditation being kind of a silent prayer. Prayer can be sometimes worded, but those things are at the top of the list. The founding fathers read the Bible. Most of them did. Almost all of them read the Bible. A lot of our laws come from the Bible. If you look at the first 5 books of the Bible, Deuteronomy and these kind of books, a lot of our laws came out of the Old Testament. They're great. I mean, the Old Testament's great for just pure law. Great stuff. So I think reading the Bible is really important, even if you're not particularly religious. If you just want to learn more about things like law and natural things and philosophy and things like that, I think it'll grow on you. I really do. It's really, really good. It's also kind of a nice habit to get into, and it helps the mind. Reading, especially old stuff, helps the mind. I was reading, here's another thing. Read the Declaration of Independence, read the Constitution of the United States. And I'm one of these people who haven't really been read. I mean, I've read them in the past a little bit, but never paid that much attention to them. And now I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting involved in political stuff, and I really don't have a good familiarity with the founding document of the United States, the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal and all that. It talks about in the first few words, what it's all about. This is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? We are, everything that we do as far as our laws are secure life, which should be life. That's why anybody that read the Declaration of Independence, how could you read the Declaration and then vote to make abortion legal? I know there's evil people out there that want to push things like abortion, murder inside the womb. But the average person, certainly the average Christian, should not be thinking about making that legal. You have an absolute right to life, period. I mean, the Declaration says that to begin with. The Declaration, the Constitution don't give you that right. They just state the obvious. Excuse me. We have a supreme being, a creator, that said these are obvious. They're self-evident. There are truths that are self-evident. Excuse me. One of these truths is that you have a right to life to start with. You have a right to life. You have a right to liberty, meaning the government shouldn't mess with you unnecessarily. The government is instituted to secure your rights. That's it. That's what they're supposed to be doing. And the pursuit of happiness, whatever you think that to mean. To me, I think it's just pursuit of the things that you want to do in life. You have a business. You have a family. You have a community. You want to go out and just live your life without having some kind of nanny state over you. Okay, that's what we got away from in England. So that's what it's there for. You don't even need to go further than that and understand that you don't take a life. You already should know that you don't take a life. But we've been so brainwashed that somehow we believe, a woman has a right to take a life. It's a woman's right because it's her body. Well, how do you get it's her body? It's not her body. A baby is a separate entity. It's living from the first body. It's feeding the second body. But it's not one body. You don't have a right to do what you want with your body. It's not your body. It's a living being. And that should be the first element of, I can almost throw the rest of it out. I don't even need to start jumping into the Constitution once I know what the Declaration said, once I know what God said, even if I never read the Declaration. I know inside what's right and wrong. I already know that. But we are so dumbed down that we don't even know what's inside of us anymore, or what's inside of us has been taken away from us. I'm already going on a rant here, and I meant to do something else. Brian is here. What's Brian have to say about this? Brian said abortion, the right to take another person's life. That's what it is. That's what it's come down to. It's not even a real right? It's the wrong, not a right. It's the wrong to take another person's life. We got to change that. We've got to change that. Sergeant Francis, life starts at the beginning. Carl. Sergeant Francis, how are you driving and texting at the same time? I'm going to get a nanny state person to get watching over you. Highly recommended. Killer in the Kremlin. It is stunning on many levels. Okay, I just put something on Fabian here that was off topic. I didn't mean to do that. No offense, Fabian, but that's kind of off topic. I think it's off topic. It looks like it is. All right. Abortion, Sergeant Francis says abortion is so popular because it illuminates the consequences of sex outside of marriage. It does. It really does. All right. Well, anyway, good stuff, guys. So prayer, meditation, Bible reading, these things we are meant to function wholly on the inside, but we don't really. And there's nothing wrong with being reminded by things like the Bible of what the truth is on the inside. It rings true. It rings with something inside you. It's truth. All right, Carl, what do you got to say here? Wow, I really don't know when life starts, honestly. Carl, stick with us. That's a fair statement. I'm not going to try to badge you with anything, but I'm telling you what I certainly believe to be self-evident, as God would say. The Constitution is another great thing to read. I was just looking over tonight and the amendments and everything. I kind of did a little study of it, and I finished it this evening. If you read the Constitution, even on a basic level, you'll see all the things that your government's doing that they're not supposed to be doing. They're doing a lot of stuff that's just wrong, shouldn't be done. The president of the United States is supposed to be, a natural born citizen. They threw that out the window with Obama. Then he threw this fake birth certificate in, which didn't even pass any muster at all. Joe Arpaio, the sheriff from Arizona, and his team just ripped it apart. But nobody wanted to listen because Republicans, a lot of them are cowards, and they didn't want to be called a racist. So don't go after Obama. So pathetic. I hope that changes. All right. So what do you got here? Let me go further. But read the Constitution. A lot of the old words, we are so dumbed down in the way that we can only read the internet now, or we have such a small attention span. We have these short paragraphs now. We like to write in short paragraphs. In the old days, they would write things that took thought and they took concentration to read. And in order to really understand what they were saying, and if you pulled away from them, you can't understand it. So the average person today, unfortunately, can't barely understand the Constitution of the United States because and other literature too. I'm not saying only that. You read much older literature, and it's if you're used to, being pulled away to a commercial every few seconds and all that in the world that we're in and looking at your phone all the time, you're not going to have the concentration required to really soak it in. If you really want to learn that stuff, chill out, go somewhere away from some noise, and just start to look at it a little bit. Just pull up a chair and just look at it and soak it in. It's very powerful. Okay, after that, here's the thing. You got to vote at some point. If you think that this world is just too corrupt and you're so high and mighty as a Christian that you don't need to take yourself down and live in the actual world and vote, you got another thing coming. You do owe it to yourself to vote, and don't make the excuse, as I said earlier, that your vote doesn't matter. Vote anyway, even if you don't know for sure. Okay, vote anyway. I never worked at a poll in my life until this last election. Okay, I'm 62 years old, never worked at a poll in my life. And I thought of myself as conservative, patriotic, Christian, all these things, right? I never worked at a poll. And it's like, so I was willing to let Democrat, liberal, far left people work at polls only and not go in there myself and do anything. I was willing to trust them with the polling, and we see what that's happened. Look at Philadelphia. Look at all these big cities, just completely taken over, and all the poll work is done by left people, and you can see what's happened. You say that things are cheating and they're so bad that they're, you might as well forget it. Part of the reason is because you and others and me have not done what we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, we don't do what we're doing, and then we complain that the elections are rigged. Well, duh, they're going to be rigged because we're not there doing anything about it. And the other thing is you can be a poll watcher. I understood, I heard this evening that there were a number, I don't have it, I thought I wrote it down, but there were a number of poll, we didn't fill many slots in the Republican Party of poll watchers for this last election. Hopefully we'll get more in November for the general. And I heard that Democrats, not a lot of Democrats in our areas, but I heard they weren't watching it either. I don't think any of them were poll watchers. So apparently Democrats don't care at all about the polls. I mean, if they did, they'd be there watching the polls. They'd be watching to make sure things are done right. Republicans in my county care somewhat, but not really enough to do too much. So tonight is about action. Okay. It's not about what we think, or it's not about our prayer life. Our prayer life is very important. But if our life ends at the end of our prayer, what are we doing with the rest of our life? Okay, we pray for whatever amount of time, and then we have a life after that, right? What are we doing? And I understand that our prayer affects the rest of our life. It does. That is true. Our prayer that we do for whatever period of time we do, right? In the morning and night, prayer, meditation, that affects the rest of our life. It does. But let's be a little bit accountable to each other. What are we actually doing in the rest of those hours? Are we spending any of that time to work with other people who we may not agree with on everything, to actually do some good in our community and actually secure the freedoms in our community? I want to know that. I want to know, what are we actually doing? We're never going to agree with each other 100%. And we can slam Fauci, and we can slam McConnell, which I was going to get to here, Mitch McConnell. He's horrible. Okay. Horrible. He's the head of the Republican Party. Horrible. We can slam these people all we want, but we have to offer some type of alternative. If we do not offer an alternative and we don't work together to build our communities, what are we doing? Throwing rocks is not an option, guys. All right, let me see. Angie Strawn is in the chat. Hello, Angie. She said, yes, we need to get involved and let them know we are watching. I served as a poll watcher. I know. A poll watcher this year. Right on, Angie. We need poll watchers. I did this in the only time I ever watched the polls, other than that, I worked the polls this year, but the only time I ever watched the polls is two different things. It's good to know how to work the poll first if you can, so you know what you're watching in a way. But even so, I was a poll watcher one time when I was in Los Angeles. I was a poll watcher at the Obama-Romney, right, 2012 election. And I've said this before, and I found out right after I got out of the polls working that night. Oh, great. I felt good about myself. I watched the polls. Then I came out and I heard that Obama won, which I don't believe the outcome. Sorry. Just don't believe the outcome. But I heard he won, and it felt like someone punched me in the stomach hard. I think it took a couple weeks easily, maybe 3 for me just to feel like the punch in the stomach was going away. It took a long time. It was horrible. But I did do poll watching, and I think everybody should do it. All right. Let me see. Oh, good. Okay. So Fabian, good. I got Fabian on board here. He says, I have been playing catch up, working new sales job. Beautiful. Fabian is a very good salesman. I know that because I hear his results. But I will help coming up something elections. roll up door-to-door calls. Door-to-door is pretty cool too. You can go door-to-door for candidates, which is really cool. I had one today. I almost went, but I had other stuff I think was more important actually this morning to do, and I did. But I want to do that as well. So he's going to go door to door. Yeah, that's really good. Calls, that's great. You can sign up. You can sign up through the Republican Party if you're a Republican, whatever party you're in, you can sign up through. But you can sign up through their website usually and just put in like a volunteer and give your name and your email and they'll get back to you. Okay. But it's a great idea. We need to do that. And awake candidate who stands up against this biological war. Yes. But I'll tell you something about the biological war. Yes, there is a biological war going on. Yes, it's very critical. All those things. We also need to kind of understand sometimes we're kind of wearing one hat at a particular time and then another. If you're right in the middle of a campaign, it may not be the wisest thing in the world to just push the fact that you're against, let's say, the shots or whatever. It's important in a human level. Don't get me wrong. I'm against them. And I would say that I would never run away from it. Someone asked me if you're against them. Yeah. Okay. I'm against them. I might not be pushing that 100% as everything and then not talking about other issues in the middle of a campaign or something. So there is kind of a time and place for everything. As they say, there's a time, as Solomon said, there's a time for everything under heaven. Wisdom is really, really important. And we need to be wise enough to say the right thing at the right time. There's a time to go alone. There's a time to work with people, but we have to be, again, I'm not going to run from any particular issue. I want to support people 100%. And I'm trying, especially more in the background, to really try to push as much as I can against the lying situation of these shots. I mean, they are killing people. They're killing men, women, and children. And they should be backing off from these things. And we should at least be saying that in regular life. So I'm all for that. But I wouldn't necessarily be saying that at every moment, during a campaign. That's all I'm saying. All right. A labor shortage too. Yeah, I get that. Okay. Let me move to the next topic. This is why I want to tell you a little bit about what we did locally here. And time is flying by quick, and I haven't even said that yet. I have a friend of mine, and his name is Kerry Smith. And Kerry Smith ran for a local county commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners, okay, in my county, we have a very corrupt board. They are basically owned by the developers. No, I'm not anti-capitalist. I'm just telling you here. The developers own the candidates. That means they do whatever they want. It doesn't really matter. In other words, they'll shrink our farmland if necessary. They'll rezone farmland in order to do developments. They'll change zoning here and there. And what they do is they don't keep up the roads and all the structures that need to be in place to have a good community. Because a lot of these guys are just into money. Money's great. Profit is great. Not against these things. But money is also, the love of money itself is the root of all evil, as the Bible says. So just loving money is not enough of a life. And our county board of commissioners is basically run by people who are in the pocket of these developers. Everybody kind of knows it around here who's looked into it. Now I have a friend named Kerry Smith, and he ran for board Santa Rosa County, Florida Board of County Commissioners. He ran for a spot there. He was way ahead. I believe the polls. I don't know for sure, but I believe he probably was way ahead the way it looked like it was going. And what did they do? They did a hit piece on him. They put out like this flyer that people got that has his old mugshot on it and said that things about Kerry Smith that I believe were wrong. And Kerry is saying are wrong. I totally believe we're wrong. And he is threatening action against these people. And they were so scared of Kerry getting on the board of county commissioners that they did this hit piece. They did a piece in the local, one of the local news outlets, and they did this hit piece. They spent apparently $15,000 out of the state capitol. There was a group out of the state capitol called, somewhere I have it here. They're called Nature Coast Conservatives out of Tallahassee, Florida, which is the state capital here. Apparently, they spent about $15,000 to run this, put this thing through the mail about 3 weeks before the election, did a tremendous hit job on Kerry, and almost took him out completely. And here's Kerry here, just so you know, because I interviewed Kerry recently, and I want to show you guys something. This is Kerry here. That was a show I did recently with Kerry on it. I interviewed Kerry, and he talked about his, and you can find it on my YouTube. It's one of the more recent shows I did. It told what he wanted to do in the county, his platform, and everything. Kerry is a born again Christian. He's a guy that used to be. He's not saying he doesn't have a past, that he wasn't a hellraiser, that he wasn't out there doing a lot of stuff. He's saying that these specific things he's not convicted of things that they said that he was convicted of. And that's going to all play out, and I believe him 100%. And it's all going to come out in the wash, and we're going to find out. The good news, they just finished the recount this afternoon, a couple hours before I got on the air here, and Kerry won the original race by very tight margin. He won the recount. Kerry won the recount. Can we have some applause? I'm going to do a one-man applause here. One of our people got in. And that's a start. So hopefully I'm going to have Kerry on again soon, and he's going to talk about what they did to him and what his plans are as county commissioner. So excellent, Kerry. But one of our people got in. There's another guy that got in. And this is kind of complicated. I'm not going to tell you the whole story here because it's kind of it's a county thing, and you guys might not want the whole story here, I'm sure, but I'm going to tell you in general. There's a man named Dr. Joel Rudman, and he won for one of the state representatives here, the state Congress people. And he won by like 2/3 of the vote. He wiped out this woman named Maria Calkins. Maria Calkins' husband is already on the board of county commissioners, but then they wanted to run her and get her in the family too. It's like they're trying to start a political dynasty. This woman is from Russia. She claims that she was basically getting away from Soviet Union persecution and wanted freedom in America. But it does not look like that's really the case. A little bit before the election, there was a video that came out that was quite interesting. And it shows New Year's Eve. Maria Calkins and her husband, James, at the time, this is a few years back, were in Russia. And they were watching Putin on TV, and they were ringing in the new year, basically. And at one point, James Calkins, who is a county commissioner here, okay, ran on being a Trumper, make America great, all this stuff. In the video, James Calkins says at some point, "I love Russia." Okay, well, you might want to love Russia. If you want to love Russia, great, but you're a county commissioner. Well, he wasn't at the time, but he is now. And his wife is saying that she's running away from Russia. And as soon as the guy who used to have the seat here, very nice family man named J.R. Williamson, very nice guy. But he ended up, for whatever reason, wanted to step down after one term. This guy steps down. The next day, somehow, Maria Calkins has her signs all over the place saying, "I'm conservative," and a little fish sign that she's a Christian and all this stuff. She has a lot of friends in Tallahassee. Somehow she got Matt Gaetz to endorse her. I don't know how that was done. Well, she worked for a little while in Tallahassee for one of the Congress guys. It's very odd, though. So anyway, I want to show you this little video here because it shows Maria James saying, "I love Russia," who's now a board of county commissioners person here in Santa Rosa County. And then Maria, his wife, is saying, "Look at Putin. He's a tough man. I like Putin. He's tough." She didn't say I like Putin in the video. She just said he's a tough man. like as if she's liking him. So I'm wondering how you can be, and she just got her she just got a citizenship to be an American citizen about, I think 4 years ago, no more than 4 years ago. And she has a newborn baby. That, it's not against the law to have a newborn baby and go run for an office, but all these things considered together, I'm wondering where her loyalty is. So I just couldn't vote for her. I did not agree with Dr. Joel Rudman on everything. He was, in the beginning, he was for the vaccine. And he said he was vaxxed and his family was vaxxed and things like that. He was for the vaccine. But he stood up for the people who were not vaxxed, and he wouldn't turn them away. He stood up against the mask mandates and things like that. So I respect the guy. As far as I know, I mean, he's not promoting the vaccines anymore, thank God. And he probably knows enough now to see how dangerous they are. One day I'd like to interview him as well. Let me do a couple of videos here. First, I'm going to show Dr. Joel Rudman testifying before a committee that tried to take his medical license away, even though he was vaxxed, because he was seeing patients who were not unvaxxed. So he was against the mask mandates and things like that. So let me play that first, and then I'm going to get to the James and Maria Calkins video.
Joel Rudman. Dr. Rudman, you're recognized, followed by Sophie Rudman. Doctor, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. So I am Dr. Joel Rudman, referenced by Representative Drake. So now you know all about me. I'm a board-certified MD in family practice in Navarre, Florida. I'm here because I received that letter from the American Board of Family Medicine threatening to revoke my board certification for what they called denigrating vaccine efforts. But you also heard from the representative about the headlines. I am that doctor who is promoting vaccines. I was the most vocal advocate of vaccination in my county. I don't mind sharing that I'm fully vaccinated, as is every member of my family. So you're probably asking, what on earth did I do wrong? Well, I have some theories. Maybe some radicals felt I wasn't doing enough because I have been critical of mandates. Maybe it's because I treat the unvaccinated like normal, decent human beings. Or maybe they just see my career and my family as collateral damage in their larger war against free speech. Personally, I think it's because I caught COVID over Christmas and had the gall to broadcast it over Facebook Live. But I don't know, because when I spoke to my board president last week, first of all, he would not let me record the conversation, so I can't share that with you, but he also would not name an accusation nor an accuser. Members of the committee, I'm not asking you to grant me something that I've never had. I have always had the right to speak my mind and tell patients what I believe to be right. I routinely tell patients which hospital we prefer, or how they need to lose weight, or how now's the time they need to stop drinking. It is my honesty that makes me the busiest doctor in my town, but cancel culture and outside organizations are trying to take that right away from me. I am simply asking you to codify and protect the rights granted to me by the First Amendment. And rightly so, for the few bad doctors out there, this bill offers them no shelter whatsoever. Rather, it encourages these agencies to focus less on personal beliefs and memes and to focus more on doctors who are actually causing harm. Right now in America, we have ER doctors quoted on CNN saying they would prefer to let the unvaccinated die. They did not get a letter like I did.
Thank you, doctor.
All right, there you have it, guys. That was Dr. Joel Rudman, who won. I'm going to get to your comments on this in a minute. I saw them. I'm going to get to your Dr. Joel Rudman was going against this woman from Russia, Maria Calkins, who was trying to start this dynasty with her husband here locally. And Dr. Joel Rudman, and again, I wasn't, because he was vaxxed and because he had push vax at a certain point, I wasn't fully like supporting him 100% and things like that. But when I saw that I believe that he does want to stand up for the people of this community, no matter what your status is on the shot. And I see the woman he's going against, who I cannot trust at all. I believe she has divided loyalties at the least. She's got problems. Then I said, I'm going for him 100%. And that's what people in this community did. They voted for this doctor who was in front of that board. They tried to take his license away. And he stood up and fought. And God bless him for that. And they voted almost 2-1 against this woman. Now, let me answer something from you guys. Yes, I did screw up here. Yes, I said the V word. Peace. Peace. I said the V word. You're not supposed to say the V word. And so, yes, more than likely, they will take this down. And I just screwed up. So that's my screw up. So what I will do, I will take the, what do you call we put this thing together, the recording of this. I will take the recording of this video, of this show, and I will make it available, probably put it on rumble.com, but I will take that link, and that link I will put on my website, oldschoolus.com. So whenever you guys want to see something, or occasionally just check into my website anyway, I recommend actually you go to the website, and on the right side of my website, there is a subscribe bar there, and you can subscribe to any post that I do. So every time I put a new post out, I put a post out a lot of times when I'm promoting a show like this. Anytime I put a new post out, that post, if you subscribe, you will get that post. It will go to you. It'll go to you by the next morning. So if I put a post together, whatever, I'm not going to put a post tonight, but if I did put a post tonight, by tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central Time, right? So that would be what, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, and let's say 8 o'clock Pacific Time. Is that right? Am I getting that right? Yeah. That will be on, that post will be up there, so you'll see it. So yeah, I screwed up here. You're not supposed to say the V word on here. I just forgot tonight. Honestly, I don't know. I got for whatever reason, I just forgot. And so likely they will take this down. So look for this show later, and it can be sent around and things like that later, but it won't be on this platform. It'll have to be probably on rumble.com. And I am on Rumble. I don't have a huge presence there, but I am on Rumble. Okay. So my screw up. Let me show you the video here of Maria Calkins. This is a few years ago. They were New Year's Eve. They're in Russia. James says in the video, I love Russia. He's now a county commissioner here. And his wife, Maria Calkins, is the one that just couldn't wait to run and try to take J.R. Williams' spot for a state representative. And she was soundly defeated, I think, because people saw that video and other things and just said, hey, no offense to these people. They may be really nice people. I've met them in person. They were nice enough people. But, hey, she has divided loyalties, and they have big question marks. I can't vote for people with big question marks. And a woman who just got into this country and telling a story, I just don't believe her story. And what does she really have qualification wise anyway at this point? She hasn't done enough to really have enough qualifications to really be an effective state representative. Anyway, let me show this video. Let me know what you guys think of this.
Happy New Year's! We're watching. Happy New Year!
Russian national anthem.
Putin.
James Calkins said Putin. Maria.
I love Russia.
Cringe. James again. Who likes Putin? Well, that is Maria Calkins, who is running for state representative. Some of you might be okay with that. I'm not. Putin is a thug. Putin has killed untold amounts of people worldwide. Am I on? Can you guys hear me okay? Are you guys hearing me okay? Just want to make sure. I said turn it off, please. Let me know if you guys hear me okay at this point or not. Just give me a thumbs up or something. I put my... Okay, good. Hey, Brian. Thank you. I don't know if you guys heard me during it. I tried to put my audio on during it so you guys could hear me as well. But that's pretty cringy. I understand we're not much better as far as our leadership and all that, but again, if you're gonna run for the leadership position in the United States of America and you still have divided loyalties at least to Russia and claim that you kind of ran out of there because you were scared of communism, it just doesn't wash. At least level with people. People want you to at least level with them. That's all. I mean, at the very least, level with them if you can. If you think that you can't, then what are you running for anyway? All right. And so in response to that, a man named Jerry Cooey is like the sage of this area here in the county, Santa Rosa County here. He's kind of like the Socrates that gets up and has to tell the officials that they've screwed up. So Jerry Cooey had a few words. He likes to come to some of the meetings and speak his mind. And by the way, Jerry Cooey is running just through his hat in the ring. Once my friend Kerry Smith won his race officially tonight, and it looked like he was going to win the other day. Jerry Cooey, who already ran against James Calkins last time and lost, threw his hat into the ring again. Right on, Jerry. And has decided he's going to run against James Calkins. At this point, I think James has to go. He's in with the developers too hard. I don't like the stuff that he did with his wife's campaign here, and I think he's got to go. All right, here's Jerry Cooey. Go.
I had asked that a video be played today, and I was refused that request. So I will use my 4 minutes to discuss that video.
He's talking about the video we just saw.
Let me make it abundantly clear. It should be clear for anyone that knows me. I love America. America is important to me. I've had family members that fought in wars, and I've certainly done my fair share to make sure that things run as smooth as they can in the America that I love. When I saw this video, I have to admit I was quite shocked. Because in that video, we have a sitting county commissioner and his wife who are proclaiming their love for Russia, raising a fist in solidarity, saying that Putin is a strong man. Now, I may be accused of politics, but let me be very clear. I'm serious as a heart attack on this. Loyalty to America is first. All right?
Right on.
And just to give you a little history lesson on Vladimir Putin, he took power in 2000. He's killed hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. At the very time you were portrayed in that video, he was killing U.S. service members in Syria. And he was killing U.S. service members in Afghanistan. He didn't just start killing people 5 minutes ago. He's been doing it forever. He kills his own people. He kills journalists that dare go against him. So I'll keep it very, very simple with you, James. I'm disturbed by that. There's no excusing of this. Vladimir Putin was a murderous thug when that video was shot. He was a murderous thug when your wife raised her fist in solidarity to Vladimir Putin.
Yep.
Those are the facts. Say what you want to when I walk away from this microphone, but this is America, and I expect my elected leaders and my fellow citizens to be for America all the time. And there is no way in the world that anybody, knowing the history of Vladimir Putin, could be in any support whatsoever of that murderous thug. Thank you.
Amen, Jerry. Well said. I respect Jerry Cooey. Jerry Cooey, to me, is a legend in this area here. Every area should have Jerry. Well, he's gifted as a speaker and a great mind, but every area should have people like Jerry Cooey, or people who at least getting up and standing up for their county, for their country as well. And I agree, Angie said, thank you, Jerry, for speaking out, for speaking the truth. I agree with that. Putin is a thug. I understand these guys are in Russia and all that stuff. And you can, as Brian said, you could love the country, but no, they love more than the country. They love Putin. And at one time, I didn't really know a lot about Putin, and because Putin sticks it to the West, because he's against a lot of the New World Order stuff, which I agree with him on, and which he seems to be supportive of Christianity in some form in his country. I agree with him on that. He seems to be pro many of the moral issues he stands up for. I agree with him on a lot of those things, but he's also a murderous thug. Okay. There's too many people who have a lot of things going for them, but they have some egregious problems. Vladimir Putin is one of them. So thank God for Jerry Cooey. I'm 100% as a citizen behind Jerry Cooey. I can't wait to see him run against James Calkins, and I will support Jerry 100%. All right. Brian Pombo said, what did they say in response to all this blowback? Intriguing. They didn't say much. They just kept putting their signs out. As far as I know, they didn't say much. But every time that Maria Calkins was at an event, she didn't have a lot to say, because she doesn't have a lot of accomplishments. So she just said, I'm a Christian. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, which is a beautiful quote. I'm not denigrating that at all. I think it's beautiful. She said she's a conservative. She's pro-gun, which I agree with. She's pro-life, I agree with. She's against the shots, which I just am going to be in trouble on this show for, because I said the wrong word today. So I agree with her on all that stuff. But just because I agree with James on a lot of his points too. But when you're a county commissioner too, as James is, it's about more than saying I'm pro-gun, I'm pro-life. When you're a county commissioner, you have a specific job to do. We have specific problems here. They have to be addressed. And the rubber meets the road when you're actually out solving the problems that people have. Everybody's coming to the state. And James Calkins said, I'm for growth, blah, blah, blah. Being for growth doesn't mean anything when you're in the state of Florida. The state of Florida is the number one destination of people who are getting away from their blue states. It's not a big deal to be pro-growth. Anybody can foster growth in the state of Florida. All you got to do is there's growth automatically happening. You have to manage the growth that you have. You can't just open the floodgates and say, okay, come on in, change the zoning on all farms and the bigger properties. Don't put the roads in. Don't worry about the infrastructure. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said at the beginning of the show tonight, guys, we have to educate ourselves on how to run things. Do you know how to run something? Because the men of old, the great men of old, knew how to run things. They ran the country. They ran things. Solomon was a king. David was a king. They ran their countries. Okay. In this country, you had great patriots running this country. So we had to understand how to run something and then be able to get into an office or a position where you can then carry it out. And know that when you do carry it out, you will be criticized, because it's one thing to run for something and everybody loves you, but as soon as you start doing something, you are going to take flack. You're going to take flack from people you thought were on your side. You're going to take flack from, people who weren't on your side. You're going to take a lot of flack. So, anyway, I hope you guys are getting that. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at some of your comments. I am going to do this. I'm going to finish off talking about Santa Rosa County, Florida, and the state, Santa Rosa County here and the state of Florida, and what happened in education, in the school board meeting. I want to tell you what happened here, and then I'll do another part too, where we'll get into nationally things. But understand that what I'm telling you here is a model, or could be a model. It could be a model. Real quick story. I lived in Grants Pass, Oregon many years ago. And I don't know what's changed there now from what it used to be, but it used to be a lot of conservative people lived there. A lot of decent people lived there. A lot of spiritual people lived there. But I found out in a hurry that a lot of these people were sitting on their butts. They weren't doing nothing. We were being ruled, even in our own area there, Josephine County, Oregon. We were being ruled by liberals and people on the left, even though we should not have been. But we were allowing ourselves to be ruled by others. The only time that anything ever different happened there is one time, and I told my family this, I've told people this story before. One time, the city council of Grants Pass had a gun amendment up where they were trying to take our gun rights away. And for whatever reason, everybody found out about it, and everybody got their butts down to the city administration building, whatever it's called, City Hall. And just told these people, and nobody threatened anybody. They'd love for us to threaten them, because then they can have an excuse to take our more rights away. Don't threaten these people. But our presence was threatening, because we were all there and we said, oh, hell no, you're not taking our guns away. You are not taking our rights away. And we had a ton of people there, and those people were scared, and they didn't pass anything against us, at least not that night. Same thing has happened here in Santa Rosa County. It is doable, people. I'm telling you, you can take some areas may be too far gone. I can't say every area is good you can do it with, but there are some areas that you can take back and need to take back, because if you don't take them back, you will have your rights taken away. You may have more than that taken away at some point. So you have to wake up. Otherwise, it's all over. Mr. Sandy LaFontaine is here. I figured I could draw him in at some point, and I have. Okay, here he said, run businesses, farms, manufacturing. Yes. How to run things. Yes, you need functional skills, not just good intentions, unbacked by skills and know-how. Absolutely. And I'm not just talking here, by the way, about political skills, although they are very important, because without politics is just what we do while we can. I mean, it's warfare without weapons. It's a struggle over power. But political knowledge is just one thing. Obviously, people, you need to go to a place and have knowledge of how to do things, how to grow food, especially in this day and age, how to build, how to do many, many things. I haven't read this first, so I'm taking my chance here with your second part here, Mr. Sandy LaFontaine. Most of the conservatives in Grants Pass were too busy arguing about philosophy. That happens a lot here, too. It happens everywhere. No one took up the duty to build an economy or take back the community. I saw that happen, Mr. Sandy LaFontaine. I saw that. I saw people laying around talking of their days away and not being out there working. You got to work, man. I don't even care if you're retired. You still have to work. God said you shall work by the sweat of your brow. He didn't say you shall work by the sweat of your brow until a particular time where you've built up enough money where your money works for you. Now, that's wonderful if your money does work for you. I'm not knocking that. But there's never a time when you're supposed to stop working. I mean, don't fall into that trap, because you will die and you will recede, and your information your know-how will recede. Okay. Again, I want to talk about a greater red wave thing here. There is no red wave, by the way. I'm going to kind of spoiler alert this thing for you tonight. There is no red wave in the works right now. The Senate and the House, Mitch McConnell is blowing that as we speak. And some of these candidates are not running on the right things. And I will get to that probably next week. But let me finish tonight's show. I'm not going to keep you here long. I just want to finish county and state of Florida here. Okay. I want to tell you about another thing, and that's Board of Education. Boards of education are very important. They are the ones in charge of what is being taught to our children. Now, and that's in the public school system. I'm not talking about homeschool and things like that, which are great. I love homeschool, and private school is great. I'm just talking about those who happen to be in the public school system are run by a board of education. I interviewed 3 of the candidates on my show, and here they are here. I've got Elizabeth Janae Lancaster, the lady with the blue glasses. Unfortunately, she lost. She made some tough statements, which liberals used against her. And her opponent, I believe her opponent, if I'm not mistaken, was Carol Boston, who was kind of like someone who's already been in office for a long time, presents herself as a conservative, but I don't believe she is. And she's, I think, part of the problem because the board that's in there now, in a lot of ways, is allowing stuff in there that should be taught to our children. So Elizabeth, they went after Elizabeth, and even the people that were with Carol Boston, they had a lot of people vote against Elizabeth Janae Lancaster, who's really a very decent woman, and she's really a great person. And I backed her all the way. And they went against her. They got liberals to vote against her and come out in mass. They even threatened her and things, horrible stuff they did to her just because some things that she said, hyperbolic statements that she was saying. She was angry with the people who are doing gender reassignment surgery to our kids. It's horrible what those people are doing. That should be illegal. There's no reason that should be allowed to stay. And she's outraged about that, as I am. And so they went after her, and she did very well anyway. She stood up for herself, and she did a great job. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Unfortunately, she did not win. Wayne Patterson, the man that you're looking at on the left of your screen in the red shirt, he lost also, but he got almost 40% of the vote, despite not campaigning full time. He had another job, and he wasn't able to get to everything. He did a tremendous job. And he was up against a woman who has been in the school system a real long time, and she's been on the school board a long time. Another, I think, liberal and conservative close as well, from what she appears to me. Now, some pretty good news about Pete Peters in our county. This man in front here in the black. Pete Peters, ex-military, fighter, gung-ho kind of guy, tells you, speaks what's on his mind. I thought he got in at first, but I didn't realize he did not get in. There was a 3-way race. He got the most votes, but because he did not get 50%, he did not make it in right away. So he's got to run again against a guy named Scott Peters, I believe his name is. I think his name is Scott Peden. Pete Peters, but who has to run again in November. So, but I think he has an excellent chance to win. So God bless you, Pete. God bless all these guys for stepping forward as citizen patriotic candidates. It can be done in your area. And if we keep going, the candidates that got in there are going to keep going. Most of them have pledged to keep going. If you keep going and are willing to do it, you can get in and you can change stuff. So I'm going to tell you one other thing having to do with the school board in Florida. We had big wins. We didn't have great wins here, although hopefully Pete Peters will win in November. And he'll be a great asset. But our governor DeSantis, Ron DeSantis, who's an excellent governor, got in the races for school board and backed candidates. And those candidates won 30 out of the 30. They won 25 out of the 30 races were won by conservative candidates. And I'm going to play that right now.
Well, tonight, Florida conservatives are celebrating some significant victories on local school boards tonight, as early indications show that several candidates endorsed by Governor Ron DeSantis and other conservative groups have won.
And in some cases have even flipped the power dynamic of their local school boards.
25 of the 31.
GOP supporters in Sarasota County are celebrating what they describe as a major victory for the local school board.
Let me introduce you to one of your two new school board members, Robin Marinelli.
Voters in the county flipping the board from a liberal majority to a conservative one.
And the governor, who would have ever thought?
3 seats up for grabs, all 3 won by conservatives, endorsed by Governor Ron DeSantis.
I think we all would have won anyway, but maybe not as much, because he got people out to vote and said how important this is. So it was a thrill.
It's a power flip in a nonpartisan race the governor and conservative moms group Moms for Liberty have turned into a political battlefield, with parents' rights and preserving conservative classroom values as its focal point.
The year of the parent. We've been saying it since January 1.
Across the state, of 30 school board candidates endorsed by the governor, 25 won.
He ran on his agenda. He put out his agenda. These candidates that he endorsed all supported that agenda. They took it to the voters, and the voters said, you know what? We stand with the governor and his education agenda.
Vice chairman of Florida's GOP party believes it's proof of the governor's staying power and lasting influence.
And I think the results of tonight really are a great indicator that the people, they embrace and they support, and they not only embrace and support, but will go fight for the DeSantis agenda.
And the GOP now hoping that that momentum will stick come November. Live in Sarasota, Katie LaGrone, back to you.
All right. Amen. Amen. Governor DeSantis, Ron DeSantis, a great leader. One day, very well may be president, and I hope that he does become president. Unfortunately, we would lose him in Florida, but hopefully he's got to win his reelection coming up first, at least. I don't know why, Angie, that DeSantis did not endorse in Santa Rosa County here. On the other hand, we had great victories, and my point is you can do something. And people might be saying, well, Patrick, watching your show and we want some religious content. We want some spiritual content. Well, you know what? There's an old saying that faith without works is dead, okay? And I believe that politics is not everything by any means of the imagination. It is not everything, but it is something. It counts for a lot. And those who denigrate it or they're too good for politics or whatever are making a grave, grave mistake. And you're putting yourself, your children, and the future in jeopardy by thinking that way. All right, I'm almost out here. I'm going to take Brian one more time. Mr. Sandy LaFontaine said Moms for Liberty. There is a group called Moms for Liberty that is promoted a lot of these school boards in candidates in Florida. I'd like to see more men come in too. Moms are great, right on, but I'd like to see male candidates too. I like to see men get involved. Men need to get involved. Men need to be involved to get your country back, guys. All right. Brian Pombo says, I thought I had Brian up here. What happened? Brian said, tell the others to keep running. Yes, it's important to run as many times as necessary. Name recognition is invaluable, especially on local elections. Amen. I talked to a man named, what's his name? Merck. He was running against Matt Gaetz. I don't know Matt Gaetz' whole story, so I'm not going to get into it right now, but he is going to be our nominee, and I will support him 100% from what I know so far. But Merck was a candidate running against him, and I think he has a big future if he wants to keep going. They had another guy come in and go against Gaetz too. Okay, guys, listen. I know I've said this before, but please listen to this. Conservatives, use strategy. God gave you a head. Use it. I'm not knocking anyone here. I love you guys, but let's try to, when you're in a race, try to find the right one candidate who's conservative to go against the elite candidate. Okay. Try to run one against them. Don't split off. Merck and Lombardo, this guy named Lombardo, who used to be one of the head guys at UPS, ran together against Gates is not a good idea. That happened in at least one other race that I know. People that I really respect are in these races too, and I don't want to say bad things about them, but we have to start using strategy here, guys. And it's very difficult to run two people against one and expect to win. It's just not a good strategy. All right. I think I grabbed everybody I could. I couldn't get everybody's here, guys. But let me do this. I am going to put up this show. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, I kind of screwed up and said the V word. They're gonna likely take this down. So just know that I will have this recorded and I'll put this over on oldschoolus.com and I'll send it out from there. It'll probably have to go out from Rumble and so on and so forth, but you'll ultimately be able to find it on oldschoolus.com. If you have any comments for me, feel free to go to info@oldschoolus.com. Write me at info@oldschoolus.com. If you want to support our work, yes, definitely go to oldschoolus.com. There's a donate section on the right-hand side. You can donate one time or monthly if you'd like. And I know people are hurting for money now, but hey, even a little bit per month would be great. It keeps us going. We can do more. We can get more stuff. We can have a better studio, all those kind of things. But we do that with your help. So thank you very much for that. I think we're good to go. I'm going to do a part 2, probably the red wave. There's really not a red wave coming unless we get real smart, real quick. And I hope you guys appreciate tonight's show and understand why I'm talking so heavily politics on tonight's show. And he said, you two are a bad man, Patrick. All right, whatever. All right. I know it's a national audience. The point is, guys, I'm showing you guys stuff that's happened that we've done locally. You can take the same model, and bring it anywhere you wish. The same principles will help anywhere you go. So I was trying to show you guys stuff that's going on here, but that you can take anywhere you want. Okay. And tomorrow or next week, yes, I'll be going back towards more of a national bent on these things. I will be interviewing local people along the way too and putting those in. They probably won't be my live shows, but my live shows will probably pretty much be the national focus shows. Okay. I've said enough. You guys have been great. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Mind Over Energy, for holding it down again in the chat. As always, thank you all the guys that came. Brian Pombo said all politics is local. You're right. I'll show you some of that too. Even though I'm going to show you national stuff, I want to show you some stuff next week. There's a guy that won in Florida here. He's a Democrat. It's local. I just don't have enough time to show it. There's like 3 parts to it. I have to show it to you next week, I think. But it's very interesting, and it shows you better wake up, because the liberals and the left are coming for you. They're coming to places like Northwest Florida, which have been, the Panhandle has been a place known as a conservative bastion for decades. They are coming for us, okay? Anywhere, they're coming for you anywhere. So what we're doing here, we're going full blast anyway, and hopefully we can help you guys more and more and give you guys some ideas, and you can take them and get running with them in your area. Okay, enough said. Thank you guys so much for being with me tonight. I hope you guys have a great Sunday. Make sure to get your prayer and your meditation. Read a little Bible. It won't kill you. Read your Constitution. Read the Declaration. Read the Constitution. And start helping out. Start being involved with this stuff. Please, we need you. All right. I pleaded enough. I ain't too proud to beg, but I'm not going to be James Brown here tonight. Thank you, guys. And God